Welcome to A Slob Comes Clean, the podcast. I'm Dana White. I blog almost every day as Noni, which is short for anonymous, over at aslobcomesclean.com. That's where I share my personal deslobification process. As I find out what works in my home and what doesn't work, I share the truth about cleaning and organizing strategies that actually do work in real life for real people who don't necessarily love cleaning and organizing. Thanks for joining me. This is podcast number 75. That's just kind of a cool number. Anyway, podcast number 75. And I am talking about abnormal schedules today. I have asked for questions from you, and this question's from Jessica. And it's honestly a question that I have gotten a lot over the years. It's gotten a word because I don't know why it sounds really... I have received many times over the years. How's that? Okay. So, I have received this question many times. And, so I think it's a valid question because, random schedules, awkward schedules, changing schedules, people who work shift work and, or people who work in situations where they get a new schedule every week. It's just difficult. It just really is. So I'm going to talk about that. But before I do, don't forget that if you'd like to be a patron of the show, you can go to Patreon, patreon.com/A Slob Comes Clean, or just go to the podcast page at A Slob Comes Clean, which is aslobcomesclean.com/podcasts with an S. And there's a link there to find out how to be a patron. And on the 12th, November 12th, which is Thursday of this week, which I'm probably putting this out on Wednesday. If you are on the $3 or $5 level, you can join in our hangout that we'll have on Thursday night. So thank you for joining me today, though. Okay, so random schedules, things changing. I get this question actually a lot. It's funny because I get a question and then I also get an answer, which is kind of interesting to me. But I will get the question, and usually it's somebody who's just landed on my site and starts to see, the different strategies that I have. And usually it's somebody feeling very hopeless, which I totally get. I mean, that was me. I was the person who would start out method after method with all these huge amounts of hope. And every time I failed, the next time it was harder to get started, and the more skepticism I had, basically. I mean, I felt extremely skeptical about anybody who told me that there was hope for my home, basically. That, anybody who said that they had a way to solve my problems, I was like, you don't know my problems. Anyway, so it really is it's a real issue. And basically it comes from a place of having tried and failed before. So with this idea, here's the question Jessica sent in. Let's see. Oh, she says she loves my podcast. Thank you. I love my podcast listeners. Anyway, I struggle with keeping up the motivation when I come home from work. I lack routine because I work at a grocery store. My schedule's hectic. I don't have a set work schedule. I usually have 1 to 2 days off a week, random days. Some days I work 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. The next day it can be 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. random. Throw in dropping and picking up kids from school and daycare errands. I'm sure you have tons of readers who struggle with this as well. Maybe you know some secrets that can help us out with this problem. Okay. So this is the same, yes, I've received this question many times, but I also want to tell you about a thank you emails that I've received. And I find it very interesting because I have received emails from homeschool moms who will say, thank you so much for, 28 days to hope for your home. I relate to you because I'm a homeschool mom. Well, I'm not a homeschool mom. My kids are in public school. I work full time on the blog and the podcasts and the writing and all that kind of stuff at home. I have received emails from people saying, thank you so much for 28 days to hope for your home, because I relate to you more than I relate to other people because I work full time outside the home. Okay. I don't work outside the home. I work inside the home, so, and then I receive emails from, people who are young moms and say, thank you so much for 28 days to hope for your home. I'm a brand new mom, and, getting this stay-at-home mom thing down has been difficult. And then I receive emails from retired people who say, thank you so much. So I'm not, okay, fine. I'm bragging a little bit, but that's not the point. My point is, what I find so fascinating is that people will actually say, I relate to you because of this situation that I'm in life. Even though that is not the situation from which I wrote 28 Days to Hope for Your Home. It's not the situation I was in as I started this deslobification process myself. When I started my deslobification process, can you pronounce a word? Can you mispronounce a word that isn't even a real word? Yes, you can. Okay. When I started my deslobification process, my daughter was 3. My 2 older kids were in school full time. It was actually the day that my second child, my middle son, went to kindergarten. That was when I started the blog, when I only had 1 child at home. So that's very different from your homeschooling mom who's dealing with the unique challenges of, having schooling older kids and, having toddlers in the house. It's just, that's different. But I was a full-time stay-at-home mom. I didn't start trying to turn the blog itself into a business until my daughter went to school for kindergarten. So for 2 years, that was what I did. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I just wrote on the blog during nap time, and that was it. That was me. But I think the reason that it works for different people in totally different situations is that I have had to boil things down to the absolute basics, because I was focusing on projects versus daily stuff, which doesn't work. I was focusing on the big overwhelming stuff and ignoring the little daily things that just have to be done, period, no matter what. And so I think, I'm Carrie Isaac, who I think she still blogs. I'm not actually sure. I know she had kind of changed some things that she did, but she did Springs Bargains, which was Colorado Springs. And I haven't seen her in a while in my blogging circles. But anyway, Carrie is very organized. And she, when I wrote 28 Days to Hope for Your Home, she emailed me and said, thank you, because I think she had just had maybe her 4th or 5th child. And she said, thank you, because even though I've always been organized, this just kind of made me go, okay. But if the only things I can do are just the absolute basics, then these are the absolute basics that I need to do. It just kind of gave her this starting point. And so my point is, those are the absolute basics that have to be done, whether you stay home full time, whether you work outside the home full time, whether you have a regular 9 to 5 or 8 to 5. I mean, who really has 9 to 5? Everybody's 8 to 5. Anyway, or if you have an 8 to 5 job Monday through Friday, or if you have shift work, or, whatever it is, these are the things that have to be done every day for a home to stay out of chaos, for a home to not go into disaster status. This is just the fact. It has to be done. And so, I was speaking at a group about a week or so ago, and one of the questions I got at the end was, what about, okay, so I had talked about doing, running the dishwasher at night, emptying it every morning, first thing in the morning. And she said, well, what about when you don't? Because let's just be honest, there are going to be times when you don't, right? And I just told her, she said, what about when, my Monday doesn't look like my Tuesday? And I think that is one of the struggles for stay-at-home moms who struggle with this kind of stuff anyway is, there are days where you have music class at 9 a.m. and you have to get going and you have to get going and moving in the morning, or, homeschool moms have co-op days or whatever, days where it's just not, mornings are different. Things are different. Tuesday looks different than Wednesday. That looks different than Thursday. So what about when you don't? And this is where, when I wrote 28 Days to Hope for Your Home and I boiled it down to those 4 basic habits, my friend had read it for me and she said, well, hey, are you going to do some printable checklists? Because I know that's really popular. Printable checklists, people love them. It's just one of those things people can do as bloggers. And I said, I really don't want to, because at first I was like, well, I had to think about why is it that I'm so resistant to printable checklists on this? And I realized that these are so boiled down, these habits, which I'll share in just a minute. These habits are so boiled down that I don't want to have to check a list to remember them. I mean, they need to be that basic that they're just ingrained, and the point of 28 days is that you develop one habit a week until it starts to actually feel normal, until it starts to be something that does occur to me, as opposed to beforehand when certain things just, I'd be overwhelmed, but it just never occurred to me to go do the dishes. Now it's like, okay, yeah, I know, because for 28 days and 28 Days to Hope for Your Home, that's been the first thing I had to do. It's like, oh yeah, I have to do the dishes. So it's boiling it down, making it so basic. So my answer to this person was, which is my same answer to Jessica, is however it works in your home on however that particular day looks, great. Because when you have those awkward pauses, when you have those moments, when you get home from, you work till 2 p.m. and you have 30 minutes at home before you have to go pick up kids at 3 or whatever, then that awkward pause, when you go, oh, what do I do? You do the dishes, because that's the first thing. If you have time, you do the dishes. If you only have time to do one thing, that one thing needs to be the dishes. And so it's working it in no matter what your schedule looks like that particular day. And I think this is one thing that's helped me, because over the 6 years of this deslobification process, things have changed. Things have varied. I've gone from having the routine of having a daughter at home and having, dance on one day and Bible study on another day. And then, to not having her home. And then a year which was really difficult, where I was in leadership with this Bible study and went 2 days a week. And, it just, things change. They don't stay the same. And that's always a huge adjustment. And that is something that for me personally, especially with my weekly cleaning tasks, it's like when life changes, then all of a sudden, I used to think, okay, well, this routine doesn't work anymore. But instead, it's finding where that same routine fits into my new day. Okay. Figuring out these are the things that have to be done. So how am I going to make that work here? For somebody who is too exhausted to come home and do, clean the bathrooms on one day a week. I mean, my goodness, I wouldn't have done that when I was teaching full time, and then directing plays after school and all that. But those things still have to be done. So maybe it's every Saturday, or maybe it's every other Saturday, or maybe it's hiring someone to do it for you. But, having that, whatever it is, you can do all those things in one day. Now that's hard with kids. It's really, really, really hard with kids. Maybe it's, honestly, a lot of people who do hire someone to clean, they don't have them clean every week. They have them come in and do good, thorough cleans. Usually it's twice a month or every other week. So if you take that and you say, okay, well, first and third Saturdays, I'm going to clean bathrooms and mop the kitchen. And then second and fourth Saturdays, I'm going to dust and vacuum, which you might want to do those more often, but hey, whatever. Even if you just got it done then, that's great. It's better than nothing, right? I'm going to dust and vacuum, and I can't think what the other weekly cleaning task is. Mopping, bathrooms, Dusting and vacuuming. Oh, and laundry. Yeah, you'd have to do laundry more than that. But anyway, so thinking through, just making it work for you, because once you kind of have figured out these are the most basics, then you work those into your schedule and your unique thing. But as far as the daily stuff, which is so much more important than anything else in the world, that daily stuff, doing the dishes, that's where you find those awkward pauses and fit in number 1, 2, 3, and 4, whatever I can get to. Number 1, just so you won't think that I'm not telling you, so you'll have to go buy my ebook, even though you should totally go buy my ebook, 28 Days to Hope for Your Home. It's available on Kindle and through a PDF. So the first week is doing the dishes every single day, no matter what. And remember, the first day of doing the dishes, if you've been waiting a while, is a whole lot more work than the second day. Okay. The key is in the second day. First day could take 6 hours, which is not fun. But the second day, if it's really truly only 24 hours, is going to take you so much less time. Usually for a family of 5, and I know this is different, the bigger your family is, you might need 2 times a day to run your dishwasher. But for us, I run the dishwasher in the evening before I go to bed, and I empty it in the morning. And if I am doing that every single day, I usually have room to also put in things like my crock pot or, my big stainless steel spaghetti pot, whatever, as long as it's dishwasher safe. I put things in that aren't dishwasher safe, but I can't tell you to do that. Okay. Anyway, so, I'm able to do that, and that will keep my kitchen under control. But for you, maybe it's different. Maybe it's just you, or maybe it's just you and your husband, or you and one child, and you only need to do every other night to run your dishwasher. As long as that works, great. Okay. But if you personally, have that odd schedule, find those awkward pauses and just start, plugging in order of priority, these different daily tasks. The number 2 daily task, once the dishes are done, is to sweep the kitchen. It's not about the crumbs on the floor. It's about helping you to see what things you would not see otherwise. For me personally, I have slob vision, and I don't see things on the floor. When I sweep the kitchen, that's when I see things and I go, oh my goodness, I need to pick this up, or I need to move this, whatever. The third thing is it's checking the bathrooms for clutter. It's not cleaning the bathrooms. It's just making sure that the laundry is in the laundry basket, and the counters are cleared, whatever. I mean, if you want to wipe it down, great, but that's not part of the thing. I mean, it's just the putting everything where it goes, and it's amazing every single day. There's always something on the floor, but the more I do it every single day, the more it actually makes a huge impact, and it makes it so much quicker the next day. The fourth one, this is the 4th week of 28 Days to Hope for Your Home, is the 5-minute pickup. Finding, 5 minutes. I'm not talking about 15. I'm not talking about half an hour. I'm talking about 5 minutes. And if you can train your kids to do those 5 minutes, then all of a sudden it's you and your one child or your 2 child, 2 people, 5 minutes makes 10 minutes. 4 people, 5 minutes makes 20 minutes of actual work. Now, it's not that way in the beginning because you have to teach them, and it's really frustrating. But anyway, okay, so that is basically how it works. I would love to hear, and I love getting emails from people who have said, hey, this is how I make this work in my, homeschool life. We run the dishwasher, at night, and then we run it again after lunch, and then we empty it before dinner. I mean, if they have lots of kids, and they use more dishes, however it works for you. I know a lot of people will assign, a laundry day to okay, I do kids laundry on Monday and I do adult laundry on Tuesday. Just kind of having those things set up, kind of like I talked about in the survival mode podcast a couple podcasts ago about just how things were crazy, but just the fact that Monday happens, and I know Monday is laundry day, means laundry happens. We don't get crazy behind. Okay. So I have been yakking excessively the last several podcasts, and now I'm almost done, and it's only been 20 minutes. So, but hey, I got a podcast up, and I wasn't sure that was actually going to happen with my current crazy brain finishing up this book. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and I would love to hear in the comments over at podcast number 75, which you get to by going to aslobcomesclean.com/podcasts with an S. Scroll down to the bottom to number 75, and just tell us how it is that you work these things in. The main things I would say to remember is prioritize what things have to be done. Dishes first, sweep the kitchen, check the bathrooms for clutter, 5-minute pickup. And then look for awkward pauses in your day, because no, not everyone can empty the dishwasher before they leave for work, because guess what? If your kids are asleep, all mamas know, if my kids are sleeping, I'm not going to bang around the dishwasher. My mama doesn't know that. She does it anyway. But most mamas know, if my kids are sleeping, I am not going to be noisy. I'm not going to shove cookie sheets into the container and they all bang around and make this horrible noise. That's just reality. But, where can you fit it in? When you feel the awkward pause, then you can start going down the priority list. Okay, thanks for joining me. And don't forget again that you can be a patron of the show at patreon.com/A Slob Comes Clean. Thanks for joining me, and I will talk to you next week. I hope. Bye.